Hey, gang, welcome to Life Served Neat. Joining us today is Charlotte's own Geoff Lee, better known as F Dux. He's a hip-hop artist, songwriter, and independent media creator. Dux built his reputation through real hands-on hustle and relentless output. From raw energy to disciplined production, his catalog includes tracks like Treat Me Like This and Wah, Wah, Wah. His work has crossed paths with artists like Jelly Roll and Insane Clown Posse, and it's even found his way into Extreme World Wrestling. Beyond his music, Dux is the voice behind Hippie Wicked Radio. Season 2's on the way soon. He continues to expand his voice beyond the booth. Dux is an artist, a builder, and a guy who stays fully invested in his craft. He's a great guy. We've been laughing, setting up for this thing. Dux, welcome to Life Served Neat.
Appreciate you, bud. Thanks for having me, man.
People that don't know you, are you a Charlotte native?
No, I'm from north of Detroit, about 10 miles, and been down here for 24 years now and just hustling and grinding, man.
How did you get here?
Stuck where I was at. I was young, didn't know what I wanted to do. Had a passion for music, and I knew I was a hard worker, and bumped into one of my family members at a funeral, unfortunately, and they asked if I wanted to move down and start a new life. That was in April, and by July the same year, I was down here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Timing's everything, isn't it?
It sure is, man.
You've been doing this, like I said, 2 decades.
Yep.
Before podcasts, before content platforms, before streaming, before everything is algorithm driven. What were the early days like? How did you get your name out there?
Well, you had to get out there and flyer. You had to promote. You couldn't just go to shows you're performing at. You really had to show your face at every event possible that could relate to that show, whether it was a hip hop show, a wrestling gig, an autograph signing, or an in-store appearance somewhere. I always just kind of showed up just to have my face be familiar with all the local scene that were attending the shows and the people that were putting on the shows.
And what point did you realize it was going to be more than just a hobby?
When people start telling you make good music, I guess. At some point, you're kind of skeptical if your music's good or not. Your friends tell you it's good. They play it around you. But I think once you actually have people you play your music and someone's like, this is you? Yeah, that's me. It's like, okay, you got something, man. And I kind of took it from there. Honestly, there was a couple of good friends, a couple friends in passing that heard my music and gave me the confidence. And even one of my friends, Charlie, back in Detroit, kind of gave me the confidence of telling me how to make music and, oh, you should do this instead of do that. And I did it and just kind of continued with that, and it kind of worked itself out.
And what was the actual cost in the early days with time and money, relationships, sleep? Was there any hard cost?
Yeah, I mean, studio time is not cheap. Even if it is $25 an hour. I mean, I started recording music in 1997. I remember traveling to Ann Arbor on the University of Michigan campus, and it was $25 an hour. I had $200 to spend. My friend Ben Began, who was a producer, he ended up working with Ted Nugent later on, which was kind of cool. He was an engineer and producer, and he put me on, and we were recording on a 4-track mixer. Even then, at a 4-track mixer, recording inside of a closet, it still cost me $200 at 16, 17 years old. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you add that into an adult with bills and stuff like that, and it is a lot more money when I became an adult. Those expenses are there. So that's just part of the gig, unfortunately.
When you're writing, when you're creating music, some write with inspiration of, here's my lyrics, let me find a beat. Some can actually sit down and go, I'm going to write about a breakup today. How do you write? Do you write based on inspiration? Can you sit down and write, this is what I want to write today?
That's a great question. I write both ways. I typically like writing to a beat that doesn't have a hook, but it's been laid out and broken down with a hook, with a breakdown and a climax, or a secondary hook with an outro, all that stuff laid out, because that way in my head, I can just kind of put my 16-bar verses, my 4-bar hooks together. And then there's times where I hear a sad song or hear something that really motivates me or kind of gets my gears grinding. And then I can kind of write to something to where I can put it to a beat. But most of the time, 9% of the time, I typically enjoy writing to a beat. If I'm writing to just myself on my phone, or even back in the day, just writing on like a notepad, it's kind of, for me at least, harder to put that to a beat rather than just writing to a beat.
Over your career, you've put out a tremendous amount of content. What kind of discipline comes with being able to constantly produce?
You have to be able to forever forever change yourself and be okay with bettering yourself, knowing that your old music might not be good enough to put out, but just know that you can continue to make good music and have that drive and determination to release the music and allow yourself to be vulnerable so people can hear it.
Since the beginning, technology has changed, but has the process changed at all from the early days to what you're able to do now?
Well, I used to record on the 4-track mixer, and then it became an ADAT, which I don't even completely understand, but that was the process. That took a lot of time to record, and the mastering for that was pretty crazy. I actually got extremely lucky to bump into Jagger Overflow, who I've made music with for 20 years. He was a perfectionist. He went to school in Seattle for engineering and mixing, and I got a little, I don't even know what the word is, but like I felt like I couldn't work with anyone else because he was so good. I could record something and it would be back then CD ready that same session, and that, I mean, you can't beat that.
So you were
So
spoiled.
I was spoiled. Yes, I was spoiled. He music that I submitted to record labels, we were recording in his bonus room above his garage and recording in the little closet that he had, attached in that room. Specifically, a platinum selling artist who I sent a song, multiple demos into, were like, "Where do you record? This is sweet." I was like, "In our house." "You
Like dude's
record in your
closet?
house?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude." He's like, "Holy shit." He's like, This is brilliant, dude." He's like, "Send me more music on." That's that's kind of how that's kind of how my music was. And then I was recording so much music that I started understanding and learning from Jagger that I could record my own music. And eventually I got an in-house studio at my house.
Well, that's excellent.
Yeah. Except for all the expenses to fix everything. But other than that, it was amazing.
Well, everything only takes time and money. Other than
Yeah.
time and money, it's simple.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Was there ever a point when you realized people were looking at you and it wasn't just about the music? At what point did Dukes become his own person?
Well, for a while, going back to my friend Overflow, who I recorded with, I was kind of in the backdrop with him. He had his own thing going. He was sweet. He was so much more lyrical and well trained, and just had a better flow, better energy, better perfection than I had. And I kind of based a lot of my music off of his work ethic. And I was always in his shadow, not in a bad way, but he was the guy that was up next. He was one who was getting the shows, who had a manager, who had CDs and merchandise. I looked to him as not only like a good friend and someone who I made music with, but also he was a great entrepreneur. And he kind of instilled that in me. And eventually, I remember doing a talent show at UNCC. It was Overflow, me, and our singer Mario, and we were like, "Crush us, we're gonna kill this, we're blah blah." And I went out there and I nailed it. I was the only one who got picked in the talent show to move on.
Excellent.
So I think even then, I think they even saw it too. All right, maybe we got something here. Maybe not just with Overflow, but we got something here with Dukes. And we were kind of in our own little circle of doing shows and fundraisers and like kind of his own little genre and like circle of people he had where he was making money and selling merch and making good music. But then I had my like little underground scene over here from Detroit with Insane Clown Posse and all their fan base, the Juggalos, and kind of just incorporated it all to where I used to go by Kid G, and I thought I'm not a kid anymore and an adult, so I need to change it. So I changed it. Jagger and slash Overflow helped me find that name, F Dux. Eventually, I was like, all right, I have to brand myself. And that's how it literally came out to where I finally had that confidence to where I was like, you do you, and I'm going to be here with you 100%, hype man, make the music with you, record. I'm going to do my own thing right here. And it really just kind of took off. And I was selling records, I was getting shows, I was doing talent shows. We got a couple magazines. We had a few people hit us up for our music, which was our first paycheck, any of us. It was an owner of a record or of a wrestling company who was like, "Hey, I want to buy $2,000 worth of music." We're like, what?
Yes, you do.
Like, yeah, and then like that was our first check that we all had made together. So it's sort of like that, just confidence and building your own brand and knowing when it's your time to shine. And I was still able to shine on my side and still do everything I had to do with my team.
Is Overflow still making music? Is he still doing his thing?
He was in the game, actually, like in the game about 5 or 10 years longer than I was, not just writing and recording. He was actually doing shows and radio appearances and stuff like that. I think he just got to the point to where he lost a little focus, lost a little energy. and was kind of like, dude, I've been doing this for 15 years. Nothing's happened. I got kids now. I got a wife. I got a house, which he's always had a house. It was his house that we lived in and recorded it in. But he's always been that guy that was very responsible in life with his money, with his family, and he just went a different direction. I wasn't ready to. So he gave it up, and I actually ended up as a Christmas gift to my wife set up a studio for me, which was all his old equipment when he was kind of piecing out. I got all of his equipment. I knew how to work it, and he helped me set it up and kind of took it on from there.
What a great gift.
Yeah, well, oh, one of the best gifts ever, dude. One of the best gifts ever.
You recorded with a lot of different people. You toured with a lot of different people through your years, including Jelly Roll.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's cool.
tell me about your experience with Jelly Roll. You even recorded together.
Yeah, well, we have a song together. We didn't record together, but we have a song together. I recorded, I want to say in 2010 when he was still selling verses and doing verses for like extremely cheap. He was touring. That seems like probably 8 times a year, which you had to do if you weren't selling tons of records. You had to be in these people's faces and constantly being relevant. So he did what he had to do. And he's always done a good job at it. He's a really good dude. He was always solid with me. A lot of people that he had with him, his management, his touring staff, and DJ Highlight, who's another great inspiration as well. He's blown up here recently. Yeah, did a song with him. Did probably 15 or 20 shows with Jelly Roll, and it kind of just built a really good music, a friendship slash relationship.
And how is he as a human being?
He's great, man. He's a good dude. I think that's what kind of made him, going back to the question you asked earlier about staying relevant, people giving up. He had every opportunity to give up. He had every reason to say, throwing in the flag, man, I'm done. But he didn't. I couldn't tour the country and constantly do 25-person shows, getting $200 a night. I couldn't personally do that. Now it's something you love, but eventually you will burn out and you will get fed up. He didn't. He always built relationships every city he went to, which is where I think helped him, where everyone thinks it was an overnight success, was really like 15 years on the grind, building relationships with all the opening acts. They would support him. All their friends and family, these venues. He was like a yes ma'am, no sir kind of guy too, like just very much like myself, just well mannered. Overall, I think the guy's a good dude. He means well. He's a hard worker, and his music. And then again, going back to your thing about music too, he just has continued to make good music, and his music is just progression. Whether you like country music or think he's a better rapper, his music has progressively just gotten better and better and better. So, but yeah, Jelly's a stand-up dude, but I don't know, I don't know him like that anymore. A lot of people still ask me if I, talk to him every day. I don't talk to him anything. It's nothing like that, but he does hook us up when we go to his shows and brings us backstage and to meet the crew and stuff like that. So that's always a good perk.
It's nice to hear that he's a cool guy.
He is.
In the mid 80s, there was a band that came out. They hit it big in the mid 80s, the Fabulous Thunderbirds. And they were talking to the band about you're an overnight success. And the lead singer said, absolutely. It only took us 12 years to be an overnight sensation. At the cusp of your taking off, everything changes. Suddenly you have someone calling you dad. Responsibility takes the place of ambition. How did becoming a father change your approach to what you were doing?
Well, it changed everything, good and bad. At first, it was bad because I was like in shock. I was like, wow, okay. I was still kind of doing my normal life. I've always had a job and made music. So it was never like a factor of trying to find money to be a dad and pay for music and all that stuff. I was always pretty good with managing my finances and, my adulthood shit. But it was tough because I thought my music life was over. And really, it was just kind of like an eye-opening experience to where I realized, yes, I am different now. I'm a dad. So some of the more hardcore stuff that I would put out maybe 5-10 years earlier, or even a couple months earlier to having the baby, changed to, wow, all right, I got to think about my kids when I'm 60 or when they're not even 60, when they're 15 or 20 and they can just go online and say, oh, F Dux, let me look at my dad. And then it's just video after video of hardcore stuff. Some stuff, not necessarily any regrets per se, just because that's been my life and that's stuff I enjoyed. So I will stand on that. But you become a different person and you kind of matures you a little bit to where, you just don't make those same stupid decisions. And now I have to make smarter decisions now that I have a kid. And also
with more eyes watching.
Yeah. Yeah. And I kind of had to not necessarily rebrand myself, but reorganize my priorities to where it's like, all right, now I really got to put money into this like the advertising for the website or advertising for a song, put the promotion for the Instagram post or the Facebook post. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. And that's how I looked at it for probably several months. And then, of course, I got the okay from the wife to say, it's okay to keep doing music. It's just, I needed you during these tough few months while he was being born, but I want you to still do this. And that was also awesome to have that type of support. So it worked out really the way it's supposed to work out. So
With the arrival of Hippie Lee, everything changed. You morphed into something different. You changed from the hardcore rapper to something, I'm not going to say kinder and gentler, but along those lines. What didn't change?
being myself, I've still been myself all throughout this, no matter the darker times of my life, where I was at now with my oldest Hudson. I didn't change who I was because I was all these things. Like the harder part of me was like, all right, I like to fight. All right, so my younger days I like to fight. I like horror movies, like slashers. So like I incorporated that in my music. But again, my son doesn't know that, and so I didn't want that to like depict or like in his eyes depict who I was as a person. So it did change me into just maybe someone who's a little bit smarter, maybe not swearing as much. I also have a lot more cleaner songs. I might still swear in the song, but it won't be as graphic or as vulgar because I have a bad mouth as it is, regardless if I'm on the microphone or not. So that's probably my biggest thing was that I still stayed me, and which is funny, loving, caring, aggressive in some ways because if I want something, I go get it. So like that demeanor never stopped, and just kind of a go getter and a hustler and a grinder. My dad always said too, if you get a job, it's not going to be all the knowledge. It's going to be 50% hard work, 25% knowledge, and 25% manners. And so I always took that into consideration with everything I've done, uh, whether it's been music or my work life or my home life. So that's always kind of worked in there too. So,
F Dux Party is one of my favorites. You can't find that on Spotify.
I was telling you this before we started, but when you told me that's one of your favorites, that used to be one of my favorites as well, and one of my crowd favorites because of like the when the battle axe swing and the 45 bang somebody, and so like the crowd would go nuts and like just that intro with the keys, dun, 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 and so like it kind of always brings back really good memories actually because I did that song on multiple different tours, which was pretty sweet too. But all of a sudden like it came to like a streaming world and you put that out in streaming and Spotify, iTunes, everyone's like, nope. Like they're like, nope. I can't remember if it was like a sample that was not cleared or some shit like that. But yeah, they pretty much put an axe to it like immediately.
Well, that's unfortunate because that was some good stuff. The memories are making you smile.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite memory from a favorite tour?
Yeah, I have a lot of great music memories. One of my favorites is definitely, where the closest to where I thought I was getting signed was to Insane Clown Posse's label, Psychopathic Records, which has been their headquarters since 1991, 92, and they've been selling like regionally like 100,000 records, 50,000. Then I got to gold, platinum, all that stuff. I was sending in demos to these guys and doing shows with them, and finally, um, they asked me to go on tour with them. I signed in. He's like, dude, we want to sign you. You're the shit. He kept saying, you're hot like a plate, or you're hot and ready like a plate of spaghetti. He goes, saying that shit. And I actually sampled that because it's kind of cool. He's like, F Dukes, he's hot and ready like a plate of spaghetti. He said it, and I recorded it, and like I used it on something. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, he, they gave me my first opportunity to really shine. And I'll never forget the call from, he was my idol growing up. So getting a call from your idol to get signed and potentially do a tour was when my manager called me, Dukes, where you at? I was like, in the studio. Joe Bruce, which is his government name, and then he goes by Violent J, for the same compass. He's like, Joe Bruce just called me from a 248 number. I was like, shut the fuck up. I was like, no, he didn't. I was like, no, that's serious. And my manager at the time, and that's kind of goes into like where I started kind of branching out, was my manager had his own little way of thinking how he wanted to manage, and he didn't really want to go that route. So that kind of, to bring those stories together, he didn't really want that route. And I always said too, I think I'd be signed if my manager actually took control of the situation instead of letting a fan talk to his idol and be like, yeah, I'll come up to Detroit. Yeah, man, I'll tour with you. And it's like, hey, let's talk some numbers. Like, what are we talking about? Because it was was like a 45 city tour or something like that. But he didn't want anything to do with it. That wasn't, it was too dark for him to like, not his stilo. So he goes, yeah, talk to Joe Bruce. And I was like, oh my God. So I called him and like, it was like that childhood, like just, he's like, what up, Duke? I was like, oh, hey, Joe. Like, just like totally, starstruck. And he's like, yo, dude, he's like, your music's like phenomenal, dude. Like, where do you record? And I was like, in our house, in your house. What? Like, you got a great sound, dude. He's like, you don't sound like anybody out doing it. We want to sign you. Like, I'm gonna fly you up to Detroit. And he never did. but he did bring me up there and we got invited to Psychopathic Records. So that was cool. So that's one of my best moments, even though nothing happened out of it other than a huge fan base and great opportunities and shows and albums and stuff like that to be on with hers. But that was probably one of my most memorable moments, was actually talking to my childhood idol on the phone. Like, yeah, dude, he didn't promise me everything, but he promised me a lot. Here's my number, save it. I'm gonna call you over the weekend. I was like, all right, sweet. Never called. It was like silence. And I was like, I'm gonna call him. He didn't respond. So I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna send him every single song I got. I sent it to him. He called me finally. Oh, I just received 3 discs. He's like, I got you. I'm gonna listen to all these tracks. He's like, we're going on tour, and I think I want you on this tour. Blah blah blah. So that was one of the best moments of my entire life, not just musically, but just to have your idol say,
Feel like you made it,
"You're the
right?
shit, dude, and you are next up," and kind of boost the confidence a little bit too. You know what I mean? That's one of those motivators. Says like, "Woo, I got it."
Is he still the most famous number you have in your phone?
He's not. I have Jelly Roll's number
No way.
and his new number. I even have it saved because he texted me because I didn't blow him up, but I texted him. I was like, yo, dude, let me know when you're in town. I don't want to be like that fanboy. It's like, yo, what's good, man? So I was like, yo, I already got tickets to your show. Let me know if you got time to kick it. So he's like, yo,
And he
I
said,
don't have that number anymore. Here's my new number. And
he
so,
said, new phone. Who's this?
yeah, no. So, well, that's funny because like my oldest son, I took him to the Jelly Roll show and he like brought us on stage and everything, which was really sweet. He's like, man, I was really hoping to meet Jelly Roll. I was like, I'm sorry, bud. I said, he's a busy dude, but I said he brought us on stage and brought you out in front of like 7,000 people. Like that's cool shit as is. And all of a sudden, here's a 615, like a Nashville number calling, and I'm like, I think this is him. And I was like, hello. He's like, yo, Dukes. He's like, come on back, man. He's like, we're backstage. Come on back. Is that your son? I said, yeah. He's like, bring your son back with us. All right. So I told my son, and he was super geeked. He was a huge fan. He's not the biggest Jelly Roll fan anymore, but he was on cloud 9.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah.
And what a memory to create father and son.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do have, I think his name's Sonny. You know POD?
I do.
I feel so alive. I have his number too, and the drummer's number when he came to Charlotte a couple times. We kicked it a couple times. So that was
Look
sweet.
at you. Rubbing
Sonny from
elbows.
POD and Jelly Roll. So
I see your high points. Are there any low points? At what point did you think about walking away from music? Or have you ever thought about walking away from music, giving it all up?
yeah. No, I have. Great question. I mean, it's a tough industry, and it's now more than ever. I was in the physical printing CDs. Now it's not printing CDs anymore. It's not printing shirts. It used to be huge music videos and all this. Now it's just quick shorts and clips and, streams. It's not the same. So, if you can't adapt, you fail. And I'm going to say this because my dad, he was a sales rep. This kind of stuck with me too. He was a sales rep for truck parts. He was that guy that showed up every week to Caterpillar, to Great Lakes Steel, to all these companies. Hey guys, oh Bob, hey, shake hands and here's my catalog, all this stuff. Here's my product. Listen to what I was doing. Going to a venue, going to a manager. Here you go. Here's all the songs I've sold. Here's my amount of records I sold. Here's the amount of shows I've done. My resume kind of thing, my bio. He couldn't change once the iPads came in because now you don't need to bring $2,000 worth of mud flaps, backup alarms, and horns and tail lights, all this shit. Now you can just put it on an iPad and here you go. This is what I got. And he went downhill. That was like that was like right before 9/11. I'll never forget that. And now that was way before I started doing music, like hardcore. Like that was right at the beginning, really. But I remember that because that's what kept me moving to where you have to adapt. And just like any industry, you have to adapt. You have to move on and so now I gotta figure out instead of just printing records, now I have to find a place that puts out my music. What is that? It's like, Oh, Apple. Okay, now you go, like, before Google's huge, it's like, "How do I get my music on Apple? How do I get my music on Spotify?" It's like, "Oh, now there's, like, these different platforms where you can put your podcast, your music, your blogs out all in the same place," and it's like, "Whoa," it's like, great. So some people couldn't adapt to that. Thankfully, I was able to.
With the changes, with
Mhm.
the father responsibility, you have 3 kids now, you are still a content creator. So you're not Dukes going out doing the Dukes thing. Uh, I saw one, I'm sure it was one of your early days, the local weather guy.
Yeah,
You're a funny cat, you're always producing, you're always putting stuff out there.
thank you.
What encourages you to do stuff like that? Is it inside you and just has to come out?
Yeah, I think it's just entertainment. I love to entertain people. I love to make people laugh. I love kinda those not necessarily sensitive moments, but, like, where you're maybe a sad moment, and you share it, and people are like, "Yeah, my dad died recently." It's like sharing those videos. Not everyone grieves like that, but I grieve privately, but like, I kinda grieve online too, like, hearing people's stories. "Oh, man, my dad died too," and you're like, "Oh, damn," and you kinda, like, relate to them. So I think whatever's in me and whatever I wanna say, I just say it and do it, and I also go back and look out to ensure it's anything that's not gonna embarrass my family too tremendously. But yeah, I got a lot in me. I got a lot of stories, things I want to say still. And I don't ever want to give that up. And I just feel it's making people laugh and just different personalities that I have to where it's like I just want to be relevant, even if it's not with music. It's making reels, it's making something about weather, my weather, funny weather guy, which is inspired by my dad, or it's my hillbilly tie reels, which is like a dumb redneck kind of thing. And then I kind of get into a couple political things here and there. But really it's all things that I care about or I am passionate about. And I'm like, let me just, if you don't laugh, you cry. That's kind of how I look at it. And so that's always been another one of my things too, is like I want to be happy, I want to be funny and just entertain people. So it kind of all comes out whenever. There's no rhyme or reason how it works out.
I do want to take this opportunity to say that I've known you a long time, and you and I have spoken about your challenges with your dad. So uh, we can cut this part out if you don't like it.
No, we're all
But
right.
but I know you've had challenges with dad. You talked about him poking you in the chest to get you to your head straight as a young man, and how much
Yeah.
frustration you had. As you were in your mid-20s when we first met.
Yep.
I am so happy. It's unfortunate he passed, but I'm happy that you guys were able to patch things and the relationship improved over the last decade or so.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was tough. My dad was a great guy, hard worker, honest, good morals. He was a proud American. I'll tell you that. He was immigrant from England, proud American. Didn't have anything of what we had as in our house. And as a kid, you don't recognize that or appreciate that. And but he was also one of my biggest influencers on music. He sang in a thing called the Players Club in downtown Detroit, where he'd get on the stage and sing opera music every Saturday night. Um, he sang to me. He was always whistling. He was the 2004 national whistle champion.
Whoa.
Yeah. He wasn't, but, he taught me. But no, he was a great guy, taught us a lot, taught us to work hard, be well-mannered, be polite. But I took a lot from him now after he's been gone and after I've had kids, I learned a lot. But he was tough. He raised us the way he knew how to raise us, is the easiest way to say it, and he had a hard life. He grew up in a bomb shelter, abusive family, being bombed by the Nazis and during World War II in Manchester, England. And I feel like these days, with as much social media and much attention that we give on trauma and personal health and mental health and all this stuff, is like it's all real and legit. But I feel like it's sometimes easy to like pinpoint something and like just harp on it and focus on it and call out all the bad things they did when they were learning themselves. Just like I'm learning, I might spaz out on the kids here every now and again with my kids, and I don't mean to, I don't want to, but like it just happens. And I feel like that was he loved us unconditionally, but he just didn't know how to show it sometimes.
As a kid, you look at your parents and they're the gold standard. They're supposed to know. They're your parents. They're supposed to make the right decisions. They're supposed to know how to handle things. Flip it to where you're a parent now, and I think I told you this earlier, that your first one didn't have the same parents that your second one did. Your first one had two rookie parents that when I brought Brett home, I was like, I can't believe that they're letting us take a baby home. You got to take your driver's test to drive a car. Now they just hand you a baby and say, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we had Hudson and like a fireman strapped his ass in. They're like making sure everything's level in the car seat and shit. And then like we got in there and like we just kind of looked at each other, like, uh, okay, we got someone back here too. And then it's like, what do we do? I guess go home now. And it's kind of like, you're just kind of like, all right, turn the signal on. You just pull out of the damn hospital parking lot, and it's just like life goes on.
Speed limit the whole way.
Yep.
And then your second son had parents that were experienced and understood what was important and what wasn't, and probably was a little more relaxed. And then by the time you got to number 3, you realize that everything's not an emergency. Not everything is life or death. And
yeah, he was so like, yeah, that's crazy that you say that. So yeah, our first one was like, even to this day, he's perfect. Our second one, what we thought was bad, is like, we'll trade what we have now for that moment, those 4 years of like, because he was alive, like he was a great kid, but like we broke those cycles of our parents, or I shouldn't say my parents, but my dad, kind of more physical, her family and stuff being a little physical too, nothing crazy like ours, but, and not that I didn't have a bad child. Let me make that clear too. I did not have a bad childhood. But there was dark times for sure. But yeah, we tried breaking those for the first 2, and we did with like spanking and just like unnecessary hitting, just, like yelling and screaming. And then like the third one came and it was just like, I don't even have hair. Ah! I've got to find something to pull because he makes me go insane. But yeah, no, it's crazy how life serves you, man, and it serves you neat, and sometimes it serves you with a bunch of shit in it, and gotta get it out. That's kind of how it's been. But really, I wouldn't trade it for the world, man. Like, as any of the headaches in life is worth it. Like just all the love, even the bad times. It's totally cool.
And in a blink of an eye, it's all going to be gone. I talked to you over the weekend. You said you're at a soccer game.
Yep.
In a blink of an eye, you're going to be sitting home on the couch on a Saturday. No more soccer games. They're going to be off with their friends doing their own thing, and you're going to miss those days where you had no time to breathe.
Yeah. Are you? I know you like music like I do. I'm blanking out. Harry Chapin.
Oh yeah, Cats in the Cradle.
You're gone. You're working too much. You're infants.
You're
Second
10.
time
You're college. You're gone.
Yep. High school, and it's like, all right, I want to spend with friends. Now it's college. Can I borrow your car keys? Then the next time it's like, I got kids. They're sick, and now I don't have time for you. But that wasn't necessarily like how my life was. But like that, that's one of my favorite songs. My dad always played that song too. But yeah, dude, it's crazy how not only life shapes you, but kids shape you.
Absolutely. The kids will teach you more than you teach them at times. I remember when Brett was a senior in high school, he lost the match that was going to send him to states, and his mother was just beside herself. And Brett, he was a senior in high school, 17, 18 years old. He said, what if this is the highlight for that kid and that family?
Right.
What if they needed that more than me? He said, I can be good with where I'm at. What if this is all they had? And I was like, wow, that's really, really mature for such a young guy.
You got 2 great kids, man.
Thank you.
You got 2 great kids. Going back to what we were talking about too with parenting, I mean, you really were. I looked up to you when we were neighbors, and just how you parented your kids, how your kids responded to you, how they looked up to you. I think that's what my connection was with you too. Is like maybe something that I was missing at home. Even though my dad loved me, it had nothing to do with that. It's just the relationship that you guys had was.
Thank you.
Definitely envious of that for sure.
It certainly wasn't easy. It was just constant.
I'm sure. No, I know. And now I look back at it now, like my 2 oldest, the youngest is a 5-year-old. So, I mean, he doesn't get it yet, but now my 9 and almost 13-year-old are like, we're best friends. So
I want to talk about Hippie Wicked Radio.
Yeah.
What pushed you in this direction?
Just to stay relevant, to kind of just branch out into the other part of the industry or other part of me that just needed to get out. I did the music thing with recording for 15 years, having someone else record me and then recording my own stuff, which was actually really awesome. And I really enjoy that because I could just kind of do it at my own accord. I didn't have anyone watching over me or expecting anything on a timeline, so I could just be me. But then there was a part of me too that I love writing just in general. So I write poems, I write stories. Like I like doing like short films and stuff with like just not even like actors, but just cool scenery and making it kind of like eerie kind of thing. Like my brain works in different ways. So I just wanted to like channel this inner like radio show. I love radio shows back in the day, funny radio, back and forth banter and intros and funny noises and sounds and fake applause when someone says something good, or someone says something dumb or does something dumb, you kind of just add those in on like some type of play button. So that's kind of how I wanted it, and I always wanted it, and it actually took a couple years to kind of get it to put together, outside of just the equipment I needed. It was the branding. I got a whole bunch of stickers made. I was plastering them up everywhere. It was getting on Spotify, Apple, Podcasts, Deezer, Stitch, all the whichever platform you choose. That's cool. Build new fans. It's kind of the same fans, really, in a way. But then, like, if you like listening to people talk instead of like on beat or with a beat behind them, which I do like that too. I always put music behind me on all my episodes too, just because I've always kind of like that old school feel and, I don't know, I've always been proud of it, so.
I think the human connection is universal. Music speaks to your soul, and to find out that, guy that you liked his music, to hear that you have a similar circumstance, background, you have a similar outlook, and just the same, you can have different outlooks, but if you respect what the person's saying, maybe it opens your mind to seeing a new viewpoint.
Yeah, no, great point, and like, when I was first starting off, the Charlotte riots were popping off, and I was, like, I wanna say June of '21 or '22, I think, and, my friend John, I won't say his last name, DJ Codeine, he, uh he was one of the first people to get arrested, and they label him as a Proud Boy, but he wasn't. He was just a regular dude that loved guns and just was
Mhm.
going out there for the people, and he got arrested. The feds raided him. They He was pulling out of a gas station in Clover, South Carolina, and like 5 Fed cars blocked him, hands up, everything, and I got his story, which was pretty freaking cool, so if you haven't heard that one, definitely, like, go check that out, but I interviewed him, his side of the story is just like, he's just a proud American, he's not like some redneck or anything like that, he's smart, he's very neutral, he's not what they portrayed him to be, and it was kinda cool, and I wanted to really tell him, I was like, "I have the perfect, like, one of the first big interviews I could do," and it was probably one of my bigger, when you say bigger, I mean, like, several hundred streams.
And that's on Hippie Wicked?
That's on Hippie Wicked podcast, yeah, it says, I think it says Charlotte Riot interview, like, whatever, but I don't know the title on it, but, yeah, he was a great interview, and he's well-spoken as well, and he was showing his side, and, that all started from, that one, young man who got killed by police, that kinda just sparked outrage, but, he was actually for the people, and they portrayed him something differently, so it kinda worked out great. I was doing music reviews, and that worked out great. I had a lot of people started sending me, like, submissions. I was like, "Oh, wow, this is actually," like, I did one for my friend. Yeah, I did one for my friend, Blind Fury, and it took off, and that was, like, my biggest one at the time, and then other people just started sending music, and I was like, "Alright, maybe I can kinda just," I don't have to have any set direction, it can just be whatever's in my head. So if I wanna do a music review today, I'll do it. If I wanna talk politics today, I'll do it. If I wanna tell a past story, I do it. Um, so that's kinda how it all came out, and I'm still rocking it. I have a bunch of new episodes I've recorded, just haven't released yet. Still kinda trying to plan. They're all still relevant, still good stories.
You built F Dukes audience, Hippie Wicked's next. Is it the same process or is it different?
Yeah, I think it's the same process. Not everything's gonna come to you overnight. Some people it does. Some people, you put a song out there and it's like, bam! But that's 1 in 10 million. Now you have so many artists. That's where I also feel is the problem, is to where there was a lot of talented people who made music and who had really good opportunities, who couldn't blow up, had the drive, had the music, had the backing, but just nothing ever happened from it. And then you have a lot of people now who are recording songs on their phones, doing a quick mix to where it doesn't sound good, or they're basing their mixes off of like something that doesn't sound good too. I'm not trying to knock it either. It's a completely different way of marketing, completely different way of recording now than it was when I was in my prime. I hate saying that, but like in my prime,
Your prime, yeah.
in my Duke's prime, yeah, my Duke's prime, which was like 2006 to 2016, so like a good 10-year, solid 10-year run. But the difference is, I think, it's just you're either trapped or you understand all the access you have to everything. So like coming here, like I come here to you and do a podcast here because I not only enjoy talking to you and I'm friends with you, but I also can help rebrand what I have right now and big it up for what I have coming out here in the spring and summer. Other people might just be like, yeah, I'm recording it. I'm gonna blow up one day. I know I got good music." So I guess it's all the mindset, really, is like if you utilize everything you have in front of you, the tools, if you don't have finances and utilities that you have to worry about, maybe making it isn't so big to you. But when you have a lot on the line, a lot on the table, to me, that's where I'm like, all right, I got to figure some shit out and I got to push to the next level.
We've already talked about 2 decades plus in the business. We've talked about, or I've talked about, Duke's Party being a song that I like. Axl Rose music. I love your Axl Rose music. Great video. Do you have a favorite song?
Axl Rose music is definitely one of my favorite songs. Just because I gave tribute to some of my favorite performers and a lot of one-liners that I was able to kick out for, all the GNR one-liners, whether it's song titles and just lines inside those songs or whatever. So that always made that fun. That was a really fun song for me. Treat Me Like That is actually probably one of my lowest streaming and selling songs, but that was more of like a deep, actually a really, really meaningful song that I feel like a lot of people like overlooked. My favorites. And probably my song Die Tonight.
I remember that one.
It's my biggest song. It's the biggest song I've ever had next to the Jelly Roll song with In My Town. But the song Die Tonight's what got me almost signed. It was the song that ICP put out on their album, Ton of Runners Under Psychopathic. It got me paid, it got me a paycheck, it got me tours, it got me big, like their quarterly shows, like they're big in like Halloween shows, Christmas shows, like big summertime festivals. That song like got me to like a point to where I was like, they're playing that new album at the campgrounds during one of their music festivals, and I'm just hearing somebody's gonna drown tonight, playing through all these like tents where we're setting up stuff, and it's just thousands of murders and stuff like that, and hearing my song playing, and then like I was going on stage, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, this is actually the guy that's on that's playing." I was singing the song, and I'll never forget it. I thought I was gonna have thousands of people out there. There was probably a couple hundred, but then like the crowd just started coming in. I didn't fill it up because it's outside and it's this endless space, but hearing that and then like, "Oh my god, dude, Die Tonight, oh my god, that's the best song on that album, dude," like, that and that's probably my favorite song and probably my favorite song to perform to, just because it got the crowd so hyped, you know what I mean? But, Axl Rose music, Treat Me Like That, and Die Tonight are definitely probably my favorite songs, and all for different reasons.
The video for Die Tonight, in my head, when I watch it, it was shot in one of the Charlotte greenways. Is that correct?
It was actually right behind the property that I'm at now. It's an actual greenway now. That's what they're connecting in the greenway right now. But it was just a trail before. Um, a couple of residents of mine wanted to be in the video, and I was like, I kind of want to make like an old school style slasher flick. Um,
I could see where somebody sees that from the outside and perhaps they call the police because that's
well, if you see the video "Die Tonight" by F Dukes, the very last scene, I'm walking out of the woods, and I kind of give like this like a smirk towards the camera with my face painted, and someone's looking out their like balcony window going like this, and you can see them like walk away, like what the hell did I just? What am I watching? But no, and Die Night was also really too. It's big point in my career as far as like ICP standing behind me and like branding me as like, yo, this is F Dukes who was on the Tunnel Runners album.
what about your favorite video? Your favorite video to make and your favorite video, if it's the same, finished product.
Yeah, one of my favorite videos is I'll keep it clean, but it's a Beyonce Knowles parody song for her song Halo. I switched it up. It was actually the first music video I ever shot. I filmed it on site at my work again, inside one of the vacant units. It was like a corporate unit or something like that, so I had furniture. So we filmed it in there. So that was probably one of my favorites just because it was such a shocker. And like my brother was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you recorded this!" And it was hilarious. So we pretty much parodied the song and parodied the video too, like bright lights, like angelic light shining through, and like just living their best life. And here I am turning into something completely raunchy. Um, which is actually hilarious too, because when I met my wife, she actually knew a lot of my family prior to like me knowing her. And so they knew them. And like when I went, she's like, "Oh yeah, I know such and such's dad." And so like when we went over there, he had that song playing and the video playing. She's like, "All right, this is pretty strange."
How
That,
interesting.
yeah, yeah, it's all right, a little different side of you. But yeah, that song, that Halo remix is one of my favorites. Then actual, like, favorite one of my actual songs is a song called "Want It With Me," which is kind of like a more anthem style, like, kinda tries something new on it too, which is really sweet, like, with a high pitched voice with auto-tune. I'm just trying to be more, like, modern with my flow and cadence and delivery. And then, like, the video turned out, my buddy Manny, dope, videographer. Was like, "Dude, I got a great idea. Get some friends together, bring them out to the studios." He was out in Monroe for a long time, and he had all these cool settings up, looked like I was in a psych ward. We put out a Craigslist ad for, like, people to be crazy, to come and be like mental patients and like be like little weirdos playing with toys and like wearing all white and shit like that. And it went perfect. It turned out exactly how I wanted it to turn out.
We're going to have to wrap this up soon. I could talk all day. We'll do this again. This feels like it's really healthy, and it feels like we have some more to talk about. In 10 years, you want people to be talking about F Dukes? You want them to be talking about Hippie Wicked Radio? Will Dukes become Hippie Wicked? How do you see the evolution, and what do you hope they talk about in 10 years?
F Dukes as a whole is Geoff Lee. I mean, I'm a Gemini, and I've always used that as like almost like a dual personality. You got like a gangster and a gentleman. You got the good and the bad, or you got hippie wicked, happy, sad, love and hate. And I think I just want people to know that like it's entertainment. I did it because I had a passion, and I think that will stand out the most was people to be like, "Dude, like Dukes is a cool dude. Geoff Lee's just cool too." It's not like some persona I really have to live up to. Actually, now that I've like gotten older, so like Geoff Lee is F Dukes, and F Dukes is Geoff Lee, and it's a huge part of me. It's a huge part of my landscape. Don't regret anything.
The young man that I met in his mid-20s would be very proud of the man that's sitting here today with your wife, your family, your kids. You're a family man, good son. I'm happy for you for the man you've become. I'm very proud of you, Geoff.
Like I don't remember some of our conversations that when I said that, but I believe it. And
well, I know the details for a reason.
But I mean, with you saying that, I guess is that life really isn't that bad, and you have your ups and your downs. And I'm blessed to have what I have. I'm blessed to have what I had. Even during those darkest times, I had a lot, and I just maybe didn't recognize it at the times. But yeah, that was a weird time of my life too, with getting arrested and all that BS, and losing my job. Kind of had to reevaluate, and not just to quit it, expunged physically, and they all had to like it took a year and a half. But yeah, being accused of some bullshit and kind of finding my way to the light through all the darkness was looking back like it really wasn't that bad. But during that like 18 months to 2 years was pretty tough. But yeah, glad we got to meet. And glad we got to still continue our friendship too through 14 years, man. If not longer, almost 15 years.
A long time. How about plugging your stuff before we go? You have any channels you want to plug?
Yeah, I got my F Dukes channel. You can find funny reels, sad reels, political reels, mostly funny reels to make you laugh because that's really what I want. But my handle is at FDukes704, which is at FDUX704. Hippie Wicked Radio podcast is on all your favorite streaming networks, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Stitch, Buzzsprout. It's all there. And you can find all my stuff on YouTube, FDUX. You can find me on iTunes, Pandora. Just type in F space DUX, and you will find about 150 songs in there, about probably 10 to 40 or 50 songs and collaboration songs with other people. So FDUX 704 is where it's at.
Man, thank you once again for joining us today on Life Served Neat. I really appreciate you being in-house. We'll have you back.
Appreciate you, bud.
Gang, I want to say thank you for giving us your time today on Life Served Neat. I hope you have a great day.
Cheers.